Bienvenue à Dakar Kreatives Talks où les esprits créatifs se rencontrent pour explorer les coulisses vibrantes des industries culturelles et créatives de Dakar. Plongeons ensemble dans l'univers fascinant des curateurs, des artistes et des innovateurs qui façonnent la scène culturelle de la ville de Dakar. Je vous présente mon invité, Ndeye Filly Gueye, qui est curatrice d'art et qui aujourd'hui nous fait l'honneur d'être sur notre plateau de Dakar Kreatives Talks. Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum. Merci. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I guess this is going to be more of an Anglophone stance, no?
As you want, if it's a French stand, it's good too.
A franglais?
Yes, it's
Okay,
a
there you
franglais.
go.
Yeah.
Multicultural.
Okay, so people better know that Ndeye Filly a beaucoup tourné entre Dakar, New York, c'est
Los
ça?
Angeles.
Los Angeles, ok, Dakar, Los Angeles. Et du coup, il se peut qu'elle soit plus à l'aise en anglais des fois qu'en français. Donc du coup, le switch se fera naturellement, quoi.
Yeah.
I am not, excuse my English, I am a French people.
No,
so,
you speak good English.
Okay, so Ndeye Filly,
Yes.
tell us about you.
I go by Filly Gueye. So I am a curator, but first and foremost, I am a cultural strategist and advisor. Given my background being behind the scenes, but also starting in front of the scenes, in movies, dancing as a performer, and then switching it over into producing, working with creatives.
Okay.
And that transition came in the process of moving here to Dakar in 2012.
Okay.
Not moving necessarily, but it was the start to my thought of moving here. And officially, I moved back 5 years ago from Los Angeles. I did live in New York for 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And now I'm here. I'm a cultural, activist in the scene, in terms of advising, in terms of being a curator, and just also the experimental part of it, which is writing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Quand j'entends ça, en fait, j'ai l'impression que tu es arrivé dans un univers où tu te réinventes, où tu explores de nouvelles possibilités ou de nouveaux champs. Parle-nous de ton parcours, en fait. Qu'est-ce que tu peux nous dire des moments clés qui ont déclenché ton parcours ou des moments clés qui ont marqué ton parcours?
Je dis que j'ai eu beaucoup de vie. There's been so many different lives I've had. And those different moments, influence the possibilities of seeing different ways of incorporating myself in the arts. Donc, je commence en tant que performer, dancing and auditioning, being in LA as a young person. Of course, you're in La La Land and that's the routine. You go to auditions, you perform, do competitions, but the real moment came when I met Debbie Allen.
Okay.
Who is a director, producer, executive producer. Most people might know her from Grey's Anatomy.
Okay.
But she is very famous for the series Fame. And I auditioned for her.
Okay.
At the age of 6. Got on stage.
At the age of?
6.
6. Okay.
Got on stage. I heard someone screaming. I thought I did something wrong. And I was like, what did I do? And she was just like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And
what were you doing on stage? You were singing?
I was supposed to audition. I was supposed to dance.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even get to do that because she was just fascinated by my beauty, or African beauty, so the foreign beauty that she wasn't used to. And then after I performed, of course, I auditioned, and she took me for the Chocolate Nutcracker, which is a show that is, a play that is very popular. She has reinvented and rebranded it, but we are one of the founding people of the Chocolate Nutcracker. And then went on to do Amistad, which she was a part of as well. Ruth E. Carter, who's also been part of Black Panther.
Okay.
Steven Spielberg. And being in that space was very eye-opening to see people move around and make things happen. So even though I was on the other side, it was very interesting to me in order to, I don't know, it just sparked something in me where I was like, this is an interesting process. Like, people don't see all this work happening, and I want to be a part of it. But I never thought much of it. But then another process was when I was working at New York Film Academy. And with being the bras droit of the chairman over there, it was just like I got to have access to different spaces, like the Universal Studio lots. It was eye-opening. It was also interesting to see the process of curating on paper and bringing it to life. The script, the process of producing, putting together all the teams, cast, crew. It was just amazing. And then transitioning over to come to Dakar and meeting Katie, who is a big brother to me, near and dear. And he helped us walk through and do hip opera, honoring the pioneers of hip hop through a program. And we got to meet all the pioneers of hip hop. And, you know, from there, I just started to get intrigued because I met, of course, my husband through that with the visual art aspect of it. So it was just taking a life of his own gradually in different forms. And then I saw that there was a need for artists to have some form of advisory here because as great as it was, there was no form of sustainability or there was no form of knowledge in terms of how to navigate different cultural spaces.
Structure.
Yes. And so from my experience, I just shared, I would advise, and people would be like, oh, this worked, come back. And I was like, okay, il y a quelque chose quoi. So...
Et donc, tu es revenu dans une logique de participer à une tentative de structuration de certaines entreprises, de certains projets, mais surtout de tes projets personnels dans un espace où la structuration n'est pas évidente.
Ouais. Bon, je ne l'ai pas vu comme un projet personnel, like, during that time.
Okay.
I think it happened organically. C'était pas... genre, oh, I'm doing this for me. Like everything I was doing, I was just like, I really want to help them. Not help, but support them in a sense where they can continue to expand their career, whatever it is. And in that process, even with the credits, I would be like, I don't even want to be credited for it because my success is your success. You succeed, great, you know? However, eventually I had to learn how to reappropriate what I was doing and be like, you are doing something impactful and you need to be able to honor that. And you also need to align it with a longtime dream of mine, which is opening a performance arts center, school, institution here in Africa, which is practically not many. I don't want to say none. But the closest that I got to it was à l'époque Jantabi, now École des Sables. And I got to meet Germaine Acogny and visit the space. And I was just like, okay, there's a need to align the arts and normalize it in the society to be respected as much as someone going to the office. And not to institutionalize it, but just to normalize it in a sense of being an artist and not making it something not so serious in the eyes of our parents, in the eyes of society, in the eyes of whoever it is that really is not supporting the process of artists in the spaces.
When I hear you saying that, I feel like you are letting me know that we are in a space where it is absolutely not possible to It's almost impossible to see structured project. The space is a little bit like not straight, I would like to say. Everybody can try something, but there is no policy that are covering project and things.
Yeah, I try to stay away from the word policy, institution, and all that, because artists are artists. You know, you have to be able to let them be free, open-minded, and we have to be open-minded as well. I mean, as people supporting these artists, in terms of making sure that you customize. It goes back to customizing.
It's amazing. You say that they need like to be free, but when you talk about administration, there is no freedom.
There's no freedom, and it's so contradictory. Arts administration, it's like two words that are so put together right next to each other.
So how are you managing that?
I mean, it's a slippery slope. I don't know how to say that in French, but c'est pas facile à naviguer.
What you say?
It's a slippery slope.
Okay.
Having to make the artist understand, listen, if you go out there, these are the standards, these are the policies, these are the structures out there. You don't have to conform to all of it, but you have to be aware of what's out there. For example, one of my clients, he's in Geneva. He's an African artist. He's from Togo. And I was telling him about, it's great. You could take as many images as you would like, but you have to have a story to it. Because if you go into a gallery, let's say, and they have a show, they put a dot on there, and then they tell you a whole story about this one dot to make you believe that that's what the dot is doing. And people are like, yes, and they'll buy it and they'll put their money on it. There needs to be context to the story. And sometimes context is not always attached to the story, and it's not obvious.
Yeah.
So he was able to walk around, go to different shows, see some shows which weren't as very impactful, but realizing that people just really have to put context to something in order to sell it or bring the attention to someone who can support or fund your vision.
But when you're saying that you need to have a red line or you need to have a context or whatever, I feel like you are talking about restrictions again. So where is the freedom?
There's a freedom in writing.
But what if there is a red line?
There's no red. What do you mean by red line?
Red line, there's like a line that we have to follow so that we can tell a story.
I think the red line is, let's say, for me, the red line is bio.
Okay.
Body of work.
Okay.
The text behind it, the process.
Okay.
Right? But in all of that, there's still freedom to say, this is my identity in the process of showing you this work.
Okay, so this is how you put administration in creative work.
For me.
Okay.
For me. Yes. From observing, from seeing, I believe that it is important to follow the fine line that brings everything together, but not be able to, because there's realities within Africa or the continent, but to zoom in closer, there's realities within Senegal, the context of Senegal. So if we want to bring in Western concepts to match it and say, this is the curriculum that you need to follow, this is the process you need to follow to make it work, is it really going to be beneficial for the people in that context? Are these artists looking to expand and be validated from outside? Or are they looking to be validated from here?
Okay.
That's the question.
So what is your suggestion to them?
I think the suggestion is one of the answers I just got recently, which is Raw. Raw Material Company is pushing for us to tell our narratives, for us to provide archives, because we're walking archives. We are history in the making, and we need to make sure that we write it down as it happens, until the reality is not necessarily that it means that that's the fact, but that's what happened on this date with this person, with these group of people, for these people, right?
Straight.
And there are people out there who are right now, in terms of inclusivity, in terms of diversity, are looking to match their agenda to that, right? And that's important to keep an ear out for, and be able to be like, okay, this is what we have as a story. Such and such wants to come and attach and support and fund a publication, or fund an exchange program for certain artists to go here and there. You know, these are processes that are important. These are processes that are not easy to have as an individual, but if a collective, let's say, je sais pas, art gang, as a collective, decided that, you know, Omagnon, Djibril Dramé, Bizenga, you know, these different people have different agendas, but are still about sustaining the African art, contemporary art, in different forms, they can rally together and get these fundings to continue to feed their vision.
So what would you do in that as an administrative person?
As an administrative person, I am advising for residencies.
Okay.
So residencies come into play. I believe that residencies are important. The research process is very important, and sometimes we miss that process because we want to jump to the result. Here it is. Here I have a poem. I have an image. I have. But what was your reference? What did you see?
So the storytelling,
the context, and all of that comes together and makes it your pitch. Creates an identity for your work. So residencies are important. Those are the processes for the artist to isolate, to connect with different people outside of their realities, to be aware of what's out there, because sometimes we could be submerged also. It's contradictory, but also I think if you're too covered in a space, you tend to forget what's out there, so that you can come back and know that value what you have at home.
Alors, quand je t'entends dire ça, j'ai l'impression en fait que toute la structuration administrative que vous mettez en place, elle n'est avantageuse qu'à l'artiste.
Oui, bien sûr.
Ok. L'artiste vit en société dans un espace-temps qui définit beaucoup de paramètres qui doivent le couvrir, qui doivent l'aider à vivre dans sa société. Si vous mettez en place d'un point de vue administratif tout cela, est-ce que ce ne serait pas à un moment donné aussi pour que ce soit favorable à l'État?
À cette question, je sais pas comment vous... I don't know, I'm going to turn the question back to you, because in terms of État, how have artists been supported? Not that they haven't, but has it been sustainable for generations to come? Has it been... If artists win without the help and assistance of the government, I think after that recognition will come, and they can rally up with that artist, you know? But if we have to wait for all the implications of the government in the form of support, it's like shooting yourself in the foot, basically.
Interesting. But naturally, when you're working in a project, you have to protect your project.
I agree.
Il faudra aller à la SODAV.
All right.
Ok. So, maintenant que tu vas à la SODAV, naturellement, tu participes à renseigner les fiches d'acteurs, d'artistes, de performances, de prestations. Ce qui permet à l'État d'avoir des informations sur les artistes qui performent et qui font des projets. Et qui permet peut-être à l'artiste de rentrer dans ses fonds plus tard par rapport à des droits d'auteur, par rapport à la protection des choses comme ça. that is my question. How you feel about that? Parce que nous, je pense que nous avons un rôle en tant qu'administratif d'accompagner la structuration, le renseignement, la formalisation des choses.
Yes, but no. I don't know how to say it. Yes, but no. Parce que as much as this, you know the process. I'm not going to explain the process to you. It's like, why do I have to? It shouldn't even be the people representing the artists running after these structures. It should already be in place, right? It shouldn't be a rigorous process where the paperwork is like, you know, the very under the table situation, the negotiation and all that stuff that happens, where you're just like, where's the ethic at this point? So if it's not, and me, I'm sorry, but it's just not ethical for me. In the sense where, as I get as much as you're saying administration, and when you hear administration, automatically you think of the connection to them. You will have some connections there, but honestly, if I can go around it, I will.
Okay, so
and when I mean around it is create another way, create another lane, create another initiative, create another path, another vision that's just not, you know, settled in Senegal. It could be in Nigeria, it could be in South Africa, it could be in Ethiopia. It doesn't necessarily have to be just one geographic.
So, donc toi, aujourd'hui, dans ton univers de curatrice et d'administratrice d'art, tu as plus un rôle de facilitateur pour l'artiste, en lui créant un univers dans lequel il peut s'épanouir, s'émouvoir et rencontrer avoir de nouvelles opportunités, rencontrer de nouveaux partenaires, collaborateurs et s'ouvrir sur une échelle internationale. D'accord. Aujourd'hui, dans cette organisation qui est très rigide, qui est très structurée, qui est très organisée, qui est très disciplinée, j'ai juste envie que tu nous dises en fait comment tu te sens, comment ça se passe entre la création et l'organisation. Quelle est l'approche en fait, quel est l'univers de l'approche créative et la gestion de projet?
Des fois, la création peut précéder et des fois, la gestion peut précéder. In terms of, like I said, like in terms of collaboration, if there's a call or if there's a residency or if there's a open project that an artist can be, and they haven't created it, it's like, hey, this aligns with what you're doing. Are you interested in this? We can create something around it, not necessarily that you have to have a product. So you can do the research. You could take a year, 2. I believe in taking the time. I don't know how to say it, like and we're in a society where we need to see it now, and it's not, that process doesn't work that way. Being in film, being in theater. Now, however, when I do see artists or encounter artists that already have a body of work, me, it's a matter of refining it and being like, hey, you have all these images, 1,000. We're going to narrow it down to a body of 30, which can take a form of 10, 15, whatever, depending on what you want to submit it to, a fair, whatever it is that you want to do. Now, let's tell a story.
Okay.
Let's tisse les liens. And we're going to share this story. One of the stories I can give you an example of is Ndeye. That text, it was just a matter of, hey, look, there's all this. What is it that you're trying to do with Ndeye, right? How is it that you're trying to make people understand what Ndeye is about, right? And then let's write something together. Okay. What do you think about this? And then they'll take it, change it, and then it's a back and forth, but it's a collaboration. And then in that sense, we start to submit, create a press kit, create some body of work around it, so that we're able to go to these structures. And we have also submitted to certain fonds that are here, and it worked. You know, some that supported some artists during the Biennale. Yeah, it's just a matter of, like I say, customization, and the process can go from the process being first or the administration taking precedence.
Okay. It is good to hear you saying that for two reasons. The first one is, as a creative, we always need someone that is capable to tell us, someone that is able to tell us exactly where to go, how to go there, and which decisions to take. And the second thing is, as a creative, we need to have someone that is like able to listen to us. And this is the reason why I was asking how we feel between creation and administration, because it's not easy for creative people, and not easy, I think, also for you administrative people, because you are not only administrative people. I think that you are creative people, and you are having a role of creative director at some point, because you are like writing what he or she is trying to
convey,
perform. He is conveying it with his performance. And that's the reason why I'm going to this next question. That is, could you share insights of the way that you manage this creative project?
Can you ask that again? Could I share
insights of the way that you manage this creative project?
I think I shared it.
Yeah, you shared few of them.
Yeah.
But is it any specific way? For example, you've been saying that like there is where like you can know the process, write it and everything. But okay, do you think there is any formal way for that?
I think so earlier you mentioned branding. And I think everybody needs to be aware at some point that the branding needs to kick in. Even for myself. Even like feeding your social media, all that. But with the right process. Like in terms of social media, what I tell artists, don't post the work that hasn't been out there in a context. Because now you're just letting people just, you know, see for no reason. There has to be a storytelling. So you can't just post. So I've had this encounter where it's like when you submit to certain things, they say, has it been published? That means Facebook, Instagram, wherever, where have you, website, press. Certain things, I think that some artists really guard their work and some overshare. And there needs to be that balance. Sometimes I have to come in and be the bad guy and be like, listen, I just saw you post something and I need you to take it down. So now I have to be a PR too, you know? And it's like a why. And you have to have that pedagogical approach in terms of explaining to them why it's not helpful in the long term. Because if we submit it for this festival and they see you posted it online, automatically you're disqualified from being shortlisted. Yeah. So you're stopping yourself from the privilege of having the opportunity to be on a platform that me and you wrote down the list of things that you want to be a part of. So it's going against.
We have the communication together and we decide something, so we have to go through the way we decide.
And it requires a lot of patience.
Yeah, for sure.
And being on social media as an artist, seeing your fellow artists post, like you see the results. Everybody's posting results.
Yeah.
Like I went to this thing, I went to that, da-da-da-da. And you want to post too because you're like, I need to do something. And it's an existential crisis when you get on social media. That's why I try my best to stay away from it, because I'm like, after you feel the pressure to be like, I'm doing this too, and you have to be patient. You have to wait. You have to. And I also advise NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, because people around you, they feel the freedom to just post. and you haven't even posted, you know, and that goes against, you know, how you brand yourself. And also, if you have a client attached to it, it could be a breach of contract, you know, so there's so many different layers to it.
So when I hear you saying like you walk a lot around the artist, his universe, and everything that is around him in terms of safety, in terms of creativity, and in terms of PR. So now, like, you've been working in that since years, and what is for you the best decision you took since you started? Like the best decision you took?
I think the best decision I took was waiting.
Like what are your innovative things in that?
My innovative thing is it's just the best decision at the same time, which is just walking away from institutions that want to use diversity, equity, inclusion, and being open thinkers, free thinkers, using words and not knowing the meaning behind those words, and walking away and being like, I'm not being a part of this. As much as it makes you look good, the ethic behind it, I'm defeating the purpose of my mission. I'm defeating the purpose of those people within my mission. And I feel like the best decision was moving to Senegal as well. And that's a big no to everything, the Western concept. Not that it's still not here. I'm very much influenced by it. I grew up in it. But just to take a step back from that and see different realities and living within those realities and embracing those realities, which are part of my identity, that has allowed me to expand in terms of how to be the bridge between different cultures.
Interesting. Ok. Donc, si je comprends bien aujourd'hui, en termes d'initiatives que tu as prises et qui ont impacté sur ton domaine ou sur ton activité et sur les artistes, c'est le fait d'avoir choisi de t'éloigner des instituts qui scandent des valeurs qu'ils n'appliquent pas. Okay. Et aujourd'hui, en termes d'exécution sur tes artistes, ça donne quoi?
Écoute, c'est un travail qui continue. Okay. C'est un travail qui continue.
Et tu sens du résultat?
Je sens du résultat en termes de pédagogie. Mais aussi, je dois signaler que, tu disais tout à l'heure, il y a l'administrateur qui est aussi créatif. Mais il y a aussi ce concept avec ce que je fais, de faire savoir aux créateurs aussi to have a business mindset. Not an administrative one, but a business one, and treat themselves as a business. So shifting from I'm the artist and I'm in my artistic process to knowing when to step in a room and say, this is Omagnan, the business.
Chers amis, Philly vient demander à nos artistes de sortir de leur fibre de créatif de temps en temps et de mettre leur veste de businessman.
Yes.
Ce qui veut dire que l'artiste va arrêter de créer et qu'il va faire du chiffre. Ok. On va voir ce que ça donne. Et...
ça, c'est juste peut-être 5% du temps de l'artiste.
Which I can get.
You know, ou bien moi.
I agree with you.
Because the rest is us. Nous, les administrateurs, we do the dirty work. Et puis après, you know, we just need you in the room for a quick second.
Ok, tell me, tu as un conseil de professionnel aujourd'hui. Ce serait quoi?
Gosh. I think I'm learning still.
Tu connais l'univers de Dakar professionnel.
Yes.
Tu connais l'univers dans lequel tu as été, tu es arrivé ici. What would you say?
I would say be open. I would say strive for creative excellency. And in terms of creative excellency is not backing down from being your own advocate. Advocating for yourself in terms of what you deserve, creating standards in terms of standardizing process, funding, and making sure that, you know, you're keeping a sustainable environment ecosystem as an artist for yourself, or If you can't do it, find an administrator that can help you in the process, which is not many or is growing. But in a multicultural sense, I feel like there's now generations that are coming back to Senegal and starting to create agencies like that. So if you can't do it, we're here to do it. But in the process, think about the impact of your decision for the generations to come.
Great. Et qu'est-ce que tu dis aux jeunes qui ont envie d'être des curateurs ou des administrateurs d'art?
Lancez-vous dans le concept. Et il faut juste avoir le cœur, la patience, la volonté, mais aussi l'éthique. Et dans l'éthique, c'est the pedagogy, knowing that it's a school of life. And reach out to the people that have the knowledge, that share the knowledge, or go towards the knowledge in that process. So I feel like it takes many forms. I don't believe in standardized one way. It's all about what it is that you would like to do, but get in those circles of experimental knowledge production. And you would be blown away from, you know, how many people are like-minded in what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. But, quels sont les projets futurs et que peut-on savoir de Filly si on veut trouver des infos sur elle?
Follow me at Filly Gueye on Instagram.
Yes.
I don't post much, but I will post the universe in which I float, which is Dakar Kreatives, and abroad as well, with my extended branch of people in the US and France now, and other places, and it's growing, but stay tuned. I don't really want to talk much. I like to work in silence and then after produce, but Mutut Agency is doing a lot of things. Website coming soon.
Oh, and, great.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you for sharing your ideas and your project.
Thank you.
And before we leave, how would you say goodbye?
I'm getting Ramadan. I don't know what to say. Jajaf.
Before we leave, je vais essayer de faire un petit résumé de ce qu'on s'est dit, mais en gros, retenez que Filly est aujourd'hui créatrice de l'agence Mutut, qui est une petite agence, aujourd'hui une PME, qui accompagne des acteurs culturels, des artistes particulièrement dans leur structuration, dans la gestion de leurs projets. Et aujourd'hui, en tant que curatrice et administratrice d'art, elle les aide à structurer leurs projets de l'écriture à la présentation, de sorte à ce que tout soit encadré autour d'un fil rouge qui est mis en place pour qu'il y ait un storytelling. Une fois que tout cela est fait, Filly aide les artistes à présenter le projet, à dérouler le projet, exécuter le projet, mais en faisant un peu la police dans le sens où il faut de la discipline, il faut de la rigueur, il ne faut pas publier, il ne faut pas communiquer n'importe comment. Il y a des règles qui sont établies et sur lesquelles tout le monde a été d'accord. Donc, il faut que l'on travaille ensemble à mettre en place ce process et à l'exécuter. Et une fois que tout cela est fait, l'artiste a cet espace pour s'exprimer et a un représentant et évite de parler partout, n'importe comment, car il a une entité qui s'occupe de sa marque, de son image, de ses produits, de la commercialisation de ses œuvres et tout ce qui va avec. Et c'est ainsi en fait que nous invitons à avoir un curateur d'art qui est quelqu'un qui pense tout le concept au préalable afin de faciliter l'exécution et de trouver les espaces de résidence et tout ce qui va avec. Et si vous voulez retrouver Mutut Agency, vous pourrez rechercher Filly sur Instagram, so Filly Gueye on Instagram. And moi, vous savez où me retrouver. Minus sur Instagram, Dakar Kreatives Talks sur Instagram, et retrouvez nos podcasts sur Dakar Kreatives Talks, du Coca-Lam Production et sur DK Podcast et sur toutes les plateformes de podcasts disponibles en ligne. Alors, merci beaucoup Filly. Merci beaucoup à la régie et à la technique. Vous aviez eu à la caméra Mr. Ahmed aka Tout à faire. Et vous avez au son Tata Salimata qui nous a beaucoup aidé à stabiliser le son. Si le son n'est pas bon, c'est Tata Salimata. Si les images ne sont pas bonnes, c'est Ahmed.
Pas de pression.
Et si l'émission est pourrie, c'est moi. Donc, je vous remercie pour votre écoute et votre attention et vous donne rendez-vous très, très, très vite pour une prochaine édition. Salam alaikum. Merci beaucoup, Filly.
Thank you so much.